Before his body was even cold, she walked straight into his office and started burning papers, hundreds of files, maybe thousands, presidents, senators, movie stars, civil rights leaders, names that could shake the entire country. She burned them all. No one ever found out what was in those files. But the man who built that collection, he ran the most powerful law enforcement agency in American history for 48 years, and every single president was afraid of him. His name was J. Edgar Hoover, Washington, D.C., 1895. A boy born into a family of government clerks. Nothing special about the neighborhood, nothing remarkable about the house. But inside that boy, something was already burning. He didn't want to be comfortable. He wanted to be in control. At 24, he walked into the Department of Justice with a law degree and a hunger that no one in that building was ready for. He wasn't the biggest man in the room. He wasn't the loudest. But he watched, he listened, and he remembered everything. By 29, an age when most men are still figuring out their careers, he was appointed director of the Bureau of Investigation. The agency was a mess, corrupt, disorganized, a national joke. That was about to change, because Hoover didn't just want to clean up the bureau. He wanted to build something that would make him untouchable. The 1920s were a different America. Gangsters ran cities, bootleggers owned judges, corruption was everywhere, and nobody trusted law enforcement. Hoover saw all of it, and instead of being disgusted, he took notes. He understood something most men missed. Information was power, not guns, not money. Information. So he built a filing system unlike anything America had ever seen. Every criminal, every politician, every public figure who stepped out of line, he built files on all of them. And then, quietly, carefully, he started to use them. When a senator pushed back on his budget, a file would appear on that senator's desk. When a president tried to limit his power, Hoover would schedule a private meeting. Just a friendly conversation, a quiet reminder of what he knew. Nobody ever talked about what happened in those meetings, but the budget always got approved. The president always backed down. In 1956, Hoover launched a secret program so illegal, so ruthless, it would take America decades to even find out it existed. He called it COINTELPRO. The targets, anyone he decided was a threat to the American way of life. Civil rights leaders, anti-war protesters, journalists, and a young Baptist preacher from Atlanta who was just asking for equal rights. That preacher's name was Martin Luther King Jr. For years, Hoover's men followed King everywhere, bugged his hotel rooms, recorded his phone calls, photographed every meeting. The file they built on him could fill a suitcase. Hoover called King the most dangerous man in America, not because King was violent. King preached peace, but because Hoover knew a man who could move millions of people was a man who could not be controlled. And Hoover controlled everything. In 1964, right after King won the Nobel Peace Prize, Hoover's FBI sent him a letter, an anonymous letter. It told King that his secrets were known. It gave him 34 days. And then, it suggested he take his own life. Read that again. The director of the FBI, trying to push a Nobel Peace Prize winner to suicide. The letter was never supposed to surface. But decades later, historians found it. And the world had to ask, how did this happen? 8 presidents sat in the Oval Office while Hoover ran the FBI. Not one of them fired him. Kennedy wanted to. Johnson wanted to. Nixon wanted to. But every time the thought crossed their minds, Hoover would make a quiet call, or a file would land on the right desk. JFK once told a friend, "You don't fire Hoover, Hoover fires you." That was the world J. Edgar Hoover built. A world where the most powerful office on earth answered to one man. A man who was never elected, never truly accountable, and completely, totally in control. But here's the thing about power built on secrets. It's only as strong as the secrets themselves. On May 2, 1972, Hoover was found alone on his bedroom floor. Heart failure, said the doctors. He was 77, no wife, no children, No real friends, only people who feared him. The moment his death was confirmed, his secretary, Helen Gandy, walked into his office, and she started burning. For weeks, she destroyed his personal files. Whatever was in them, the world will never know. The man who spent his entire life collecting other people's secrets left none of his own behind. Because what history did find was enough. COINTELPRO, the King letter, the blackmail, the wiretaps on hundreds of innocent Americans. 50 years later, we are still uncovering what he did. And the lesson isn't really about power. It's about what happens when one person decides they are above the law, and nobody is brave enough to say stop. If this story stayed with you, hit subscribe. We find the real stories behind the names you thought you already knew. And drop a comment below. Which moment hit you the hardest? The King letter or the presidents who stayed silent?